All right.
There you go.
Nice.
Now we're talking.
Look at that. Sweet.
Dude,
So
All
good,
right.
good day.
Magic.
What's
Yes.
happening, guys? What's going on?
How are you?
Good.
Good. Whoa, why did I go dark all of a sudden?
I don't know.
Oh, it's because I put on the Reason video and it put a black
Look
black
at those graphics behind you.
I know.
Wow.
My graphics were done by Claudio Bergamin, who did Firepower for Judas Priest. And actually, he did your graphics too, Jeremy.
Yeah, he did mine too. Yeah. Audio's great.
Claudio is
That's
great. He's fantastic.
Okay.
That's
So,
right. Yeah, that's cool.
cool. Let's get right into it. Our next guests are legendary rockers. You know them, you love them. They're blowing up on TikTok, which is super random. Celebrating the 20th anniversary of their big debut record this year. Massive hits. I mean, come on, they've got like almost 1 billion streams on that huge hit. Like that's
Yeah, almost 1 billion streams on the Reason one song.
Come on, like, geez, Dan, Doug, Hoobastank, what's up?
How are you?
Welcome to the show. Good to see you guys. So, talk about this whole thing, man. Like, were you expecting in 2021 all of a sudden Hoobastank would be trending worldwide on TikTok of all places?
No. I mean,
It
come on.
literally came out of nowhere. It's so weird.
Yeah. Us blowing up on TikTok is the equivalent of the background, the fire background. We were talking about the awesome background.
We've always joked about it. Oh, yay! It's another. We get our second 15 minutes of fame, and we've been saying we're down. I think it's down to like 2 minutes left.
I think we have a minute left. Yeah.
Oh, come on. Soak it in. Take it all in. Why not?
We are. That's what
Capitalize.
we're soaking the 15 minutes in.
Yeah.
Listen,
We're just beating them like a dead horse.
Hey, you know
Yes.
what though? Soaking in anything for too long is bad for your skin.
Listen, I'm at minute 16 myself, so I'm already past the due date. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that first album, because look, Jeremy's 26. He wasn't born when it came out. Or actually, were you? Yeah, you were born. Yeah, you were born in 2001.
Yeah.
But by the turn of the millennium, my bands, my Aerosmith and my Bon Jovis and my Def Leppards, they had sort of abandoned what they were doing, and I was lost in space. And Hoobastank came out, and I heard the song, and I went, "Yeah, it's not for me. I don't do new music. I'm the old guy." And I shouldn't have done that, because you listen to the Reason now and you listen to those albums. And I went back and I listened to it, especially for this interview. And you go, you know what? These motherfuckers are good. What a great band. So just talk to me about that. Really, you really are.
We're gonna just use that clip only. That's the only clip we're gonna put out.
Yeah.
We're gonna apologize for being motherfuckers first of all.
Well,
We're sorry. We're sorry.
Yeah.
No, but did you talk to me about sort of finding that space, because you were creating this new space with these new fans? You had Jay Baumgartner, who wasn't really Jay Baumgartner, that guy. He was also just starting out, and you finally getting to this point where now people on TikTok and other generations are discovering and going, "Yep, these guys are good."
Dude, I hope you're right. I love hearing all this stuff, but in theory, it sounds amazing. But only time will tell if those new TikTok listeners or fans are going, "Yep, these guys are good."
You are.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah, go ahead.
What were you listening to that you were like, "Nope, I don't want to listen to Hoobastank or these bands. I want to listen to XYZ." What was it that you were into at the turn of the?
Well, I'll tell you.
millennium?
Listen, I'm a child who went through my music in the 80s. So I loved, Hysteria, and I loved Pyromania, and I loved what the Scorpions were doing, and I loved what Aerosmith was doing, Permanent Vacation and all that. And then you got to the 90s, and what Aerosmith and Def Leppard were doing was just sort of like, oh, why are we here? And so by 2000, I was sort of in this lost space of, okay, so now I started getting heavily into Metallica. I started getting heavily into Iron Maiden. I was trying to discover these other old bands that I had never really listened to. So that's where I was. I was sort of in this, well, the bands that I love, even Bryan Adams was sort of doing this like strange stuff. So that's where I was. And I was at that point in life where I was, 30 going, I'm not listening to new bands. Fuck new bands. I don't do new bands, which is funny now, because now I listen to nothing but, Buck Cherry. I listen to Hoobastank. I even listen to Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Old bands.
Old bands. No, but I started listening to all these bands that I should have not been so critical about. And so
Can I just
I'm
say,
glad. Yeah.
that story that you just told is probably one of the most common stories
Yes.
for people
Who are old.
Yeah, the same thing goes for us too.
I was like,
Trust me,
I was letting you speak, but that's my story. I'm like, yeah, there you go.
Often listens to only the stuff that
that I grew up with. Yeah.
Like in dressing rooms before we would go on.
Yep.
DJing, it was typically, you know, the bands that we grew up listening to in the early 90s, mid 90s. And there's this nostalgia.
Yeah, end of high school, out of high school. That's
and I'm guessing it's because at that point in most people's lives, you are the spongiest sponge you can be, and you're soaking up and absorbing everything. And you look back, it's gone. And you look back on it and you're like, oh man, like I was thin then, I had hair then, I got pussy then, and fuck, it was awesome. And now it doesn't exist. And so
I didn't say any of those things, by the way.
First of all, you can say it, and I'm not fat, so at least I've kept that part of it.
No, dude, no. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I was the fat guys or us right now. Okay, we are the fat
James.
Oh, and by the way, neither Jeremy or I get insulted. You can say whatever you want. Call me fat. Call me bald. We don't. We're good at this stuff. But no, it's just interesting, and it's amazing to see. Here we are, 20 years later. And now my daughter is on TikTok and my son's on TikTok, and they discover these bands. And the other day she was singing a song from a completely random band, whatever, Bryan Adams. And I go, how do you know that? She goes, oh, it's on TikTok. I'm like, oh, okay.
I guess it doesn't really matter how you get it as long as you can get it somehow, right?
That's what I'm saying.
New music is what I'm talking about.
No, but that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
When we were younger and we would hear an older song, kind of like how your daughter heard Bryan Adams, I feel like realized it was old. We knew that was a classic, but I could be wrong. I feel like your daughter and her peers and the youth maybe don't see it that way as much as we did, because they're learning about it on current platforms.
Absolutely. So let me ask you just real quick about the current platforms. How do you manipulate that or use that to your advantage? Because now you've had this opening. You've had this incredible success. You are viral. People are talking about the not perfect and the whole thing, not too perfect. How do you now sort of turn that into the next step in the career where you go, okay, we've got this door open. How do we walk through it?
I was going to ask you that actually. So I can't.
Well, all right. I'll tell you. Just create new hashtag. No, I don't know.
Right. Honestly, that's there's been a lot of inner band dialogue about that, because I think that's a misconception to a certain extent in its own, that I think you used the word manipulate. That how do you manipulate, like the what's happening, as if we have any control over what happened in the first place. We didn't plant the song. We didn't tell whoever started this challenge to do it. It happened, and we didn't even get it on our radar till 300 million people were doing it, and then we didn't even jump in till almost 400 million people were doing it. So like, this wave has a mind of its own, and it would be, and at least in my estimation, or maybe this is just an excuse I use to not have to make more TikTok videos. It would be silly for us to think like, okay, this is ours. Like we get to now steer this bus wherever we want it to go. Like we're just on this thing. We're like, hey, it's one of those. It's a wave pool, and everybody's in an inner tube, and we at the last second we've jumped in with the inner tube, the two of us, and we're going. And so yes. By the way, that would be a great TikTok video.
That's a great video of a concept.
I love how they jumped in at 400 million. They went 399. That's nothing
not
serious.
Not
enough.
But four.
Oh, 4. Look at
No, but you know what I mean. Like, so
yes,
all we can do at this point is have fun with it. We're gonna throw some more videos out. We kind of feel we've been around in this game for long enough to know the pros and cons of social media, and we've been on both ends of it. We've been the high praise, and we've been the punchline for as long as we've been around. We know, we get it.
Are you going to cut up this video and make us a TikTok star with you? That'd be kind of cool.
If you want.
Down. You have my permission.
TikTok, for some reason, I mean, we've thought about it for why. It seems like a friendlier environment. I'll be honest with you. The comments, the people who engage on TikTok seem a little bit more just friendly and not there
nicer people.
Yeah, not there to tear you a new ass, like if on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, or
Or
YouTube.
YouTube comments.
Yes, exactly. It seems different than that. And because when we decided to jump into the pool, we did it in a self-deprecating manner, the way we are normally. We're just kind of, dudes having fun. We kind of felt that maybe this is the outlet besides Facebook and Twitter. Like maybe this is the outlet where we can kind of just fuck around and kind of show what we normally are like, rather than, hey, we're playing a show at the whatever, and everything's like statistical. This is just something we'd have some more fun with.
It wasn't like a well-calculated thing where you guys sat in a boardroom with management. It was like, okay, what should we do? What's the next thing?
So that, to come full circle, that's my point. It would be like silly of us to now think we can now well calculate something into, like, now let's do this.
Well,
like,
let's just rewind though. But yeah, I mean, that's not how it happened. But I'm not gonna. The phone rang afterwards, and yeah, it was the people that know the algorithms and stuff like that. When they need to do the, and we're just like, dude, this is so dumb. It's so
the fun that we had with it for 5 minutes immediately became
business.
Oh wait, yes, maybe Dan shouldn't be on that frame so long. Maybe like let's do this, and that's funnier. And the more that happened, we were just like, fuck.
It became the job. You have the TikTok seminar at the management office. All right, boys, come in for the TikTok, man.
It kind of just sucks the soul out of having the fun at the end of the day, I guess. Talk about this. Yeah, go on.
I was just gonna say, we were at my house trying to do a TikTok video, do one early on. Me, Doug, and our drummer Chris. And it was actually a lot of fun being together and filming stuff. It reminded me of when we were younger and together all the time. And we were just laughing our asses off. We ended up not posting this particular video that we had made. It was the buying the Ferrari, whatever.
Oh yeah.
You should post it. It probably would have 500 million views.
Yeah.
But us just watching it after we did it, that's just enough for us to watch ourselves be the biggest douchebags and just own it and just crack up. So
yeah. Oh well.
Anyway, so yeah.
Talk about the 20th anniversary of this record. The debut album comes out in 2001, and it's got some great tunes in there. But I'm very curious though. You guys had one of the best sounding records of the early 2000s. You listen to Crawling in the Dark. It's heavy. The guitars sound huge and awesome. And I feel like record production was coming back to having big sounds again. Whereas, in the 90s, it was, garage with 2 mics on the drums and, just crappy tones. And this record sounded fantastic. And then you even take it up a notch with Reason. Give me a little bit of backstory on The Reason, just real quick, because, how do you guys go from writing a tune that's like heavy, like Crawling in the Dark, and then write, one of the greatest, I think, it in a way, it's a power ballad.
Well, we didn't go from Crawling in the Dark straight to The Reason. There, it was a couple of years. There was 12 songs in between. That first record has Crawling in the Dark on it. But it also has a couple of slower songs on there. If you listen to the second to last, I think it's the second to last song, is it called To Be With You?
Yeah.
It's called To Be With You. I don't think that there's overdrive or distortion in the song. It might even be, on between the first album and the Reason album, it might be the slowest song.
Right. There was a certain, I don't know. Obviously, neither of those are concept albums by any means, but you do pay attention to the tempo and the flow and the energy of an entire album. And with us, we always kind of felt like, dude, we've been going, 4 on the floor, pedal to the metal. We need to let's song 6. Let's have a breather. Let's kind of slow it down. And we obviously have roots in a lot of 80s music, power ballads and stuff like that.
You've covered Tears for Fears over the years.
Right. It never seemed foreign. It seemed pretty good. My favorite songs were a lot of those power ballads by the bands I liked,
Well, and all the bands that we all 4 listened to had some type of their own version of a ballad or a slow song on their albums, whether it was Metallica, Zeppelin, whoever, dude.
Yeah. So that was basically it. It was never like, yo, we just did the self-titled album, went platinum. We're really, really good. Now let's do a power ballad. Like, it came out writing wise as natural as anything else. And even when we were done, the record's done, it's being mixed. it's time to have the powwow with record label and management, where we all listen and go, okay, what do you think are potential singles and blah blah, perfect world, what would be 1, 2, and maybe 3. I'm pretty sure that nobody in the band chose The Reason as a single, or our management. Like, that's how off the radar it was at the time. It literally was the slow song for that record,
Wow.
So
until we saw them singing it. It got to chorus number 2. We were all in this boardroom meeting, whatever, with all these suits from the record label. They're playing a couple of the songs. It gets to The Reason. By the time it gets to chorus 2, these people, and this is their first time hearing it, are already singing the chorus a little bit. You can see them, and some of the words were wrong, but I remember just sitting there going,
it was the most contrived bullshit ever.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. But we used to joke about record companies, like you fly into different cities and the rep picks you up, and they have to drive a certain route,
Right.
to get from the airport or wherever to the record company, and they had to make sure that route is like littered with your posters, just so they think that you're doing shit,
such a mind
Yep.
fuck.
Yeah. So
the gatekeepers are so fun.
So I'm thinking they probably made all those people go, you motherfuckers have to memorize this song. Here, I'm giving it to you a week early. When these assholes get here, you pretend it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and that. So
That's totally believable, but
whether it happened that way or not, I don't know, but it could have.
But it's interesting, you talk about, it was just kind of like the slow song for that record, but you go from the success of that first album, and, it goes platinum and everything. So you guys didn't have like an A&R guy in the studio sitting over your shoulders and saying, all right, pressure's on, boys. You need to write this type of song, write this type of
to his credit, or I don't know, depending on if you think it's a good or bad thing, our A&R guy was just like a bro. Like, he showed up at pre-production, and then he showed up when it was done. Like, and he's like, "What you guys got?"
He had a really interesting way of working. Extremely good at what he does and did. I mean, he's been responsible for signing some really big bands. He's done well. But yeah, like Doug said, he'd come in the studio and hang and shit. But it wasn't like he was saying like, "Hey, this needs a pre-chorus." Or when he left the company, the next dude came in and started saying that shit. And we're like, "Who the fuck are you?"
But he used to say that. He's like, "That's not my job. You guys write the music. You give it to me, and I'll make sure the company fucking wants to push it, like they love it. I'm going to sell it to them,
Let me ask you something about this, because back then, when going through the 90s and Aerosmith and Def Leppard, they power balladed us to death, and it was just like, enough already, fucking get back to rocking. How important was it for you to have a song like The Reason, and were the record companies still sort of going by that old formula? You need a rocker, you need it. Because to me, it would seem that with the new bands, with the Buck Cherries, with the Limp Bizkits, they would want to try a new formula, no?
I mean, it goes back to the formula thing. Like, we were never pressured by the
company,
record company, to write a ballad, and we weren't pressured by ourselves to write a ballad. We just like, hey, that's a cool idea. It happins to be slow, like it happens to be mellow.
I feel like it does dictate though the next song that they will release from that album. And
right.
I feel like it did for us.
Going into the Reason album, coming off the success of the first album, the only type of influence I felt or heard from the record company was what's going to be the next Crawling in the Dark. So they didn't even have ballads on their radar. There was like, what's going to be the next like up-tempo rock jam from you guys, So I think it caught them by surprise as much as it did anybody else.
Wow.
I'm surprised that it caught them by surprise, because you look back at the last 30 years before the album comes out, it's like Motley Crue's good for Home Sweet Home, and Aerosmith has Angel, and it's just like, listen, all these supposed rock bands are doing the thing. The songs about,
but you say that those are the types of songs that we would probably in our heads go, Motley Crue had Home Sweet Home, and
I've said that before. That's exactly how the Reason came about, because we listened to Nothing Else Matters, or what's the one on Ride Lightning, the ballady one.
Fade to Black.
Fade to Black, yeah.
Fade to Black when I was a kid.
Fucking amazing.
And they got heavy in it too, a little bit towards the end. But all these bands had these
curveball, just like a little bit of a curveball.
Yeah. And by the way, it's amazing the amount of shit Metallica took for Fade to Black. When that came out, fans went, "Oh, that's it. They sold out. I'm not listening to this band ever again. The hell with them. What's this slow crap?" And now you go to a Metallica show and those same fans who are 50 years old are going, they didn't fucking play Fade to Black tonight. What the hell? Why didn't they play that song? I don't understand. It's the best song ever.
Right. So that in that mindset, it never seemed foreign for us to have like a mellow tune, you know, like it was, in fact, it was something that felt right. It was the Fade to Black. It was the Sanitarium. It was the, you know, these songs that obviously those got super, super heavy and stuff like that, but they were mellow and they had a more melodic quality to it. And it just seemed normal. It wasn't like, yo, we got a red power ballad.
Yeah, let me just ask you before I give it back to Jeremy for a second. The song is going to have 1 billion views in the next year or so, and you've got this 20th anniversary celebration of the first album. Do you have plans for either to celebrate? Because I think when the clock or the counter hits 1 billion, you got to make some noise. You got to say something, right?
Just like
Flam.
Yeah. Y'all ready for this? Yeah.
But no, like, are you guys gonna do, you know, like geez, I don't know, release even for the 20th anniversary of this? Are you gonna do like a 20th anniversary, you know, vinyl box set with demos, do an expanded kind of thing for the 20th anniversary, or put out some new product?
I was just on the phone with our manager about it beginning of the week. I don't think we're going to do the vinyl on this one, is what I heard. We did a vinyl on the 15-year anniversary of The Reason, which was a couple years ago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We've been milking that one, though, and just still celebrating that one.
Nobody's counting. Nobody's counting anymore.
Yeah.
Time doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But
now's the time to print the vinyls again of The Reason. Get like a limited edition swirl. Get that in Urban Outfitters. They'll sell out.
Dude, I was in Urban Outfitters last week, and I called our manager, and I was like, how come The Reason's not in here? I was like, dude, we're fucking huge on TikTok. Get this shit in here.
Yes, exactly. Now's the time. Get in Urban Outfitters. Get that limited edition 7-inch.
Yeah, but for the first album, the 20-year anniversary, so at the beginning of quarantine in 2020,
dude, it was about a year ago today.
Yeah, it was
literally
about a year ago. I started. So I filmed, or somebody filmed, pretty much everything of us back then, and whether we all bought video cameras. So at my house over the last couple of years, I've had 2 of his camcorders, all his tapes. I've had my drummer Chris's, I've had mine, over 200 tapes, and I've been transferring them from those to make them digital.
Nice.
And it's us in the studio on the first record. You know, like I found some video of him doing vocals on Crawling in the Dark. I found video of us, you know, just really cool stuff of us in the studio. If anybody's interested in that stuff, we have it.
Nice.
And we're talking about chopping it up and either making something one piece or doing it in segments and putting it up on our YouTube channel. And we're in our early 20s in it. And
yeah, we by far of any album have the most footage, like behind the scenes, either recording, writing, and tour footage from the first record than we do any other album.
Nice.
And some of it's interesting and some of it's probably lame as hell, but we'll curate it somehow, you know, and figure out how to put it out. You know, we've talked about maybe doing at some point, you know, leading all the way up to the actual date of when it was released 20 years ago. You know, releasing an episode once a week, twice a week, whatever, you know, on our YouTube channel. And then go for that, and then maybe release all of it, you know, in some form of digital thing or something.
Yeah, and I think dig seeing that, you know, old school footage that's never been seen before. Like, just if there was footage of you cutting the original vocal take for Crawling in the Dark or something, like, fan, you put that up.
I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch that shit.
You don't have to watch it. You just have to monetize it.
He'll cringe. Anytime something comes on, old of us.
I don't want to see it. I lived it. I don't want to see it again.
I have poured salt on the wound so many times that it doesn't affect me. And plus, I do enjoy it. But there are some things that I see that I'm like, oh my God,
yeah.
And I cringe. But I think I've seen it because I've had to go through stuff so much for content. I'm a little desensitized to it. But there's some funny shit, man. There's some stuff of us when we didn't know anything. We were young. We hadn't been through anything yet, you know, which is the cool thing to look back on and see. And then remember what happened the next few years after that.
Right. We had no idea.
So there's some footage of us like I said, in the studio doing drums, but we're all together in the room together, kind of getting ready to play Crawling in the Dark for the first time to record the drums. And you hear him kind of, you know, speaking, singing the lyrics, and I'm dicking around on the guitar, and you hear the riff, and then you hear the producer just go, all right, let's do Crawling in the Dark. And then we go into it, and it's fucking cool, man. And so I've always imagined us doing something with it to where we're presenting that to our fans, and we're showing it to them. And then maybe it crossfades from there to 2 years later, and now we're in Japan.
It's interesting to think about when you see it. Like, this is before anybody heard any of this, you know, like this is when it was still fresh in our own like creative heads, and with no idea what it was going to do for our careers and how many times we'd be playing it and how many people we'd be playing it in front of, you know. So it's kind of weird to look at it that way.
But it's cool to see how, you know, it went from conception to what it became. So
it is. I've got one last one here just before we run off. The last album came out 3 years ago on Napalm Records. Napalm Record is a death metal label. Talk to me about.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, I'm just curious about the fact that you went over to a death metal label.
All our death metal songs that were B-sides on that album.
No, of course you did put out a song on there called Buzzkill. So I guess that was sort of you trying to be death metal-y, I guess. But then you did True Believer, which
they were trying to get into different music than just
right.
metal, and we were in a weird spot, and it was just a one-off thing. And
yeah, it's honestly not very complicated. They basically, you know, we had just left our last label, and we're like, you know, do you guys want to do another record? Sure. You know, well, this company wants to work with you guys, and they're trying to branch out a little bit.
And their roster.
Are you down?
Okay.
Are you down? Sure. Okay. It never made a whole lot of sense to me, but it was.
We thought it
fun.
was just as fucking nuts as all the bands on that label thought it was.
What do you mean the fucking Reason guys are on our death metal label? What the fuck's going on?
I know. That's when we would have gone to them. You guys are a bunch of pussies, man. You're on the same label. You're the same label as the guys, the Reason guys.
Yeah, I was looking forward to the Candlemass Crematory Hoobastank triple bill. I mean, I thought that would, you know, the tech or what are you looking at some of the bands on this label? Xandria, Wintersug.
And you know what? We would have played that show too.
Happily. Yeah, why the fuck not? You play whatever.
And laughed ourselves to sleep that night, probably.
This Friday, Hoobastank, special guest, Fetus Crucifix.
Dude, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be the first time. We've done some festivals in Europe. I remember one specifically in Norway where we played in between like some black metal, you know, Norwegian bands.
Nice.
And it was hilarious. Like I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I can't really say what the audience thought, but
No, but you see, that's the thing about Europe. You'll go to a festival like Wacken and they'll have Crematorium and all this, and then they'll have Foreigner on there, and you go, wait, what?
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas in North America, you know,
I know.
Here in North America, we're very, you know, go ahead.
Yes, it's very red. We do that. You're going off on another tangent. Absolutely. Yes. Like that's one of the things we love about European and like Asian festivals, because it's anything goes, and the audience, everybody awesomely. It's not like, oh, this next band sucks. They're doing the same shit for the heaviest band ever that just played for the pop band that's playing right now. You know,
it's Slipknot's festival in Japan.
And crushed.
We killed it. It was so much fun. I mean, we weren't like all the other bands on there, but it was every other band on there was extremely heavy, and they were fucking awesome bands.
Listen, at the end of the day, good songs are good songs, and if people are gonna go out and sing them, why not?
And you know what? Ironically, our entire careers, we have been told, even prior to a record deal, that, well, you guys are a lot heavier live than you are on your albums. Like without any exception. That's always been the case with anybody who like likes our music and then comes to see us live. They always walk away and go like, you guys are a lot heavier than I realized.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Well, you guys are killing it on TikTok. 20th anniversary of the big record, Hoobastank, available. Make sure you get it, and look out for the awesome footage of you guys singing in the studio. You won't be watching, but we'll be watching.
We'll be watching.
Right.
We'll be watching for
You
that.
can follow us on. We'll post stuff up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah, I follow you guys on Instagram. You guys are great on socials. You do it good.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love it. And I love the TikTok, and I will make sure I follow, and I'll tell my daughter to make sure she follows. So there we go.
We appreciate
There you go.
it. Thank you guys.
This has been an absolute pleasure for me. I have to say, and I should have listened 20 years ago, but I'm listening now, so that's all that matters.
Boom.
You know what, dude? I just gotta say before you edit, I did the same shit with YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I was a hater, not a hater.
I wasn't a hater. I didn't have time for it. I just went, no, I have my bands. I don't need new bands. I have my bands. I wasn't a hater. I was a pompous, a little bit pompous.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I would say that was the same for me. But then as I got a little bit older, I started to revisit bands that were already existing and fell in love with them and saw why they are so amazing.
Yeah.
And now all you listen to is yacht rock.
Yacht rock, baby, yeah.
All about the yacht rock. Oh, there we go.
All right,
as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. See you later.